introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background?
My name's Alicia Yang. I'm from Montreal, Canada. I'm of Taiwanese and French-Italian heritage. Right now, I am 19 years old, and I am really passionate about dance, and that's the thing that I want to pursue in the future. I'm planning on going to CLI Conservatory next year for dance, and I really want to make sure that whatever I end up doing in life, it has a positive impact on the world and on people, whether that's on a small or a large scale. Hopefully a larger scale, but I just want to make sure that whatever I do, I'm doing meaningful work.
What you're currently doing. So this is from university to work to whatever alternative routes you might be going down.
Well, now we're in the summer between, but I just graduated from Pearson College, which is one of the United World Colleges, which aims to basically bring students together to make change makers who are gonna lead the world into a proper environmental and social transition. I was in the first cohort of the Climate Action Leadership Program, so I didn't used to be much into climate action. And then I decided to dive into this because I knew I needed a change in my life. I was feeling like my life didn't really have that much meaning, and I wanted to create meaning to it, and I thought, well, maybe if I dive into this, I'll actually find purpose to what I'm doing. And I did find that, which I'm really super grateful for. So I did that program for 2 years. We were learning a lot about movements, about climate science, obviously, about Indigenous perspectives. I mean, I guess that's what I want to do in the future. When I go to CLI, what I want to end up doing, hopefully, is to create choreographies that use storytelling to translate the messages of those who are affected by a lot of social issues or environmental issues. Choreography, and with dance, it's an art, right? So it translates a specific emotion. Art is meant to touch other people in ways that they probably didn't know they could be touched before. So that's kind of what I want to do with my work, and I think that if it comes from the heart and if it's something that I really resonate with after spending 2 years being surrounded by people who are activists, people who have suffered from climate injustice and stuff like that, to be able to translate that into choreography to make a difference would be like a dream for me. Oh, like actual work? So I work as a camp counselor. It's this camp that I've been going to since I was really young. It's a place that I hold very dear to my heart. I volunteered last year and the year before, and a lot of my friends have worked there, and I was like, I should probably work there at least one summer, so I just decided to work there on a very impulsive decision. And other than that, when I'm back on the weekend, there are these huge bikes of like 15 people with like pedals on each side, and usually it's groups that rent them, and I drive them around Montreal. It's like a party bike, kind of. It's a lot of fun. I really like both of them, actually. I like working with kids, and I like working with people, so it makes me happy.
What motivated you to choose this path?
Because I wanted to make a purpose in my life. So in Quebec, we graduated in grade 11, right? I went to the same school for 12 years. I didn't really know much outside of my bubble. I knew I had to go out and explore. There was more to life. I was ready for bigger things. That was my motivation for leaving home and going to this college that was like meant for change makers and people who wanted to deal with big things. So that's how I got into Pearson. And in terms of the Conservatory, I did an intensive there last summer, and it was really intense. I woke up the next day after the first day, my muscles were so sore. But I was surrounded by dancers, and there were so many moments there when I felt so inspired. I'm surrounded by a community of dancers, people who think the same way as me, people who share my art. And after being at Pearson for 2 years, where I don't have that community, to get back into that, it felt like something that I belonged to, that I could be a part in. Their ideology and like the way that they treat their dancers with care. We have wellness classes. It's just like a community of care for dance, which is, I think, very rare. It was something that like really drew to me, I think. And also like it opens up to a bunch of connections. So, and if it's something that I really want to do in life, I was like, maybe I won't pocket a lot of money right away, whatever, but if I end up just going to university and I get a job and I make a lot of money, I'm gonna get to a point in my 50s or 40s where I'm gonna have a midlife crisis because I regret not having tried dance at least once. So I decided that this is something that I wanted to pursue, maybe not forever, but at least try it out, and then I could say that if I failed, I did it.
What are your dreams?
Well, okay, I touched on this a little bit before, but it is to connect both the worlds that I've found inspiration and passion in, so social justice, activism, as well as dance, and to be able to combine those in a way that is just gonna bring more to my life than just both of those things individually. So that when they come together, it ends up being, I don't know, something that I'm just gonna fall in love with.
Short-term goals over the next year to 2 years.
Okay. Over the next year, definitely creating choreography. I think the studio is very much focused towards building dancers. I don't know how much they are focused towards building choreographers, and I think they give the opportunity to a few dancers. So I want to make sure that I'm one of those dancers that gets the opportunity to choreograph. I'm also going to have to be in the studio off hours to be able to do that. But that's what I want to do. So I think choreograph at least 2 or 3 pieces, get a group of dancers, film at least 1 piece properly so that I have something tangible. So when people ask me, what am I doing? I'm not just spitting out words, that I can actually show them a video, show them something that I've done. I have a kind of a controversial opinion on goal setting. I think goal setting is a good tool to use, but I think that when you stick to a goal, you close your mind off from a bunch of other opportunities. So for me, I have this goal in mind, but I'm also going into the conservatory. I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know how tired my body's going to be. I don't know if maybe there's something else that I like in dance that's going to open up. So I go with a goal in mind, but I don't stick to it so much because I know that there's other things available. And so I try to keep my mind open to other things. But that's not to say I'm not perseverant. Like, I don't know if you've met me. When I want to get something done, I get it done. So,
Okay.
It's true.
Long-term goals, more looking at the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, to be able to choreograph pieces, but also to have it reach an audience where it's actually making an impact. I wanted to find groups and communities that I feel aligned with, be able to collaborate with them, and reach not only people in the bubble of the people who are looking for it, but be able to reach other people who are not so much into climate action, like people who I was before going to Pearson.
What are some of your favorite parts you've experienced along your journey so far, whatever that journey may be?
Being at Pearson, it's a bit of a roller coaster. You're stuck with 200 teenagers for 2 years. I mean, a roller coaster has its ups, and there were a lot of moments at Pearson that have made me realize different things, have inspired me, have made me feel a lot of joy as well. I think my favorite part was, first of all, the cultural sharing. It was an international school. I should have mentioned that. Most people are on scholarship, and it's all need-based, so they purposely have people coming from different socioeconomic backgrounds as well. There's so much cultural sharing that goes on, where you get to learn about different people and the way that different cultures work. I think that's more on a larger scale, and then when you meet people individually and get to learn about their lives and how they grew up and, their mindset and all that, that's definitely the best part of Pearson. In the Climate Action program, I'd say the best part was feeling like I'm making a difference and feeling like I have purpose to my work. Seeing that the projects that we were doing were either getting sent here and there, how it was making an impact. I was also one of the leaders of this initiative called Conversations About Race, and we would basically hold sessions, not necessarily all the time conversations. There'd be a presentation and then maybe a dialogue afterwards or whatever. When I'd have people come up to me after and be like, thank you for sharing that, or thank you for hosting this, because it's made me realize that I'm not alone in this. It's made me feel like I belonged. I've learned something. That's when I think I felt the best. In terms of dance, I think favorite moments are probably competitions, also highs and low, very intense, but the feeling of going up and competing, it's like no other. It's like if you play sports, you get an adrenaline and you go up and you pour your heart out into literally 2 minutes of a piece, 2, 3, 5 minutes, and then it's done. It's a very emotional experience. I was competing with my friends, so people I was really close with. My favorite part would be to be able to go through all these emotions and to experience all of this stuff.
What are some of the challenges you faced in your journey so far? Some of the main ones that you've had to overcome?
Wow, many, many challenges. But, I mean, nothing comes easy. I know I'm going to face a lot of challenges in what I choose to do. First of all, keeping track of my training in dance and still dancing while I'm away. It's really hard when there's no community around and it's just me. I had the space to do it, which was really good. but sometimes it's online. And then while balancing that with schools, when you're at a school where everybody's boarding, there's its own community and its own life there. And so everybody revolves around the community. So to have to detach from that and go off on my own and dance was like very tough, first of all. Another thing was people. It wasn't a type of community I was used to. In the community that I grew up, no one really values selflessness or kindness. It's all about ambition, focusing on where you're going to next. I mean, it's a good thing. I consider myself an ambitious person, but there's a part of it where it can get innately selfish. And that's the only mindset that I knew, and that's what I was taught was good. And so when I went to Pearson, and there were people that were going out of their way to help out other people and stuff like that, I just didn't understand. That just wasn't me. And because everybody was like that and I wasn't, it was hard for me to put my pride aside and to feel like what it's like to be kind and to be selfless. I didn't understand that. To be humble, like I was like, why are people being humble? Just like be proud of what you have, like whatever. After realizing that like I couldn't walk around like I fucking own the world, sorry, I can't swear. I was like, this isn't good for me. It's just feeding my ego, which isn't healthy. And I mean, it's good to have pride, but like, it's not something I need to show off because that means I don't feel it necessarily. That's for anyone. If they're showing off something, it means they feel like they need to show it off. Whatever. It was really hard for me to just not focus on myself so much and focus on the community and focus on other people. And when I was able to do that, it like opened me to a whole new world. And I realized I do find a lot of meaning in being able to just like help people out.
Can you touch a little bit more on how you overcame them? It can be really brief if you want, but.
So my first term is mostly when I struggled. I didn't understand a lot of the stuff that was going on. And then I went on break in December. And I don't even know what happened. I remember having a conversation with my mom on the plane back from a trip. I don't know, it's just one of those light bulb moments. You know, it's kind of one of those things that like you can't explain. My program, it's a climate action program, right? To be able to succeed in school, you don't necessarily need the intrinsic motivation. They use a lot of reward-based systems. In the climate action program, to actually do well, you actually need to have the motivation to do well. You can't just like create something that's catered to what you think is gonna get an A. It has to be something that's like really intrinsic. And I didn't figure that out until that plane ride. I'd observed what other people were doing and I reflected on it and how they were being successful in school. And then I was like, maybe I should try that as well. And so I came back in my second term and I kind of shut off. I needed some time alone before I could get back into the community, which is hard when I am living in a community, but like I would do things like I'd eat breakfast alone. Or I wouldn't feel like it was so much of a rush to talk to everyone all at the same time. I would try not to analyze every social situation, and I just try to like stop caring as much. I think that's the big thing. Just stop caring and start focusing my energy towards helping other people because I want to and not because I'm gonna get a reward from it or because they're gonna feel thankful or whatever. Doesn't matter if they feel grateful or not, just so that it feels good within myself. I started doing that and I started being more successful in school, and then I also noticed that I started being more successful with friends and I started getting along more with other people. It just all kind of came together. It was really taking January, February to focus on myself. March, I started kind of coming out of my bubble a little. I started getting involved with a lot of the clubs and initiatives at school, so Conversations About Race, a menstrual justice team, gender equity and empowerment. I was like, okay, fuck it, like I'll host a session, whatever, and I did, and it felt good because I was like, wow. Once I started doing it, I started understanding why people were doing it. You really feel like you add meaning to your life when you contribute. So observation, I think, and then reflection, time on my own, and then diving into, what the school is about.
Is there any obstacles you are anticipating in the future?
Yeah.
And could you touch on maybe a couple of them?
So many. Physical well-being. For one, I'm going to be dancing 5 to 7 hours a day at the Conservatory. That's a lot. And if I'm ready for it, I mean, I've kind of started training a little bit. I really have to get back into that. And also, if I get injured, what am I supposed to do then? Especially if I get injured within the first few months. It's like the rest of the time, like I can't do anything. Injury is something I've struggled with a lot. My legs are pretty fucked. And staying physically healthy, making sure my body doesn't shut down, that I'm getting enough sleep, getting the right food. That's gonna fuel me throughout 10 months of an intense program. And also, I think I'm just scared of I dive into these decisions and I look like I know what I'm doing, but like, I'm also really scared that I made the wrong decisions. I got accepted to other universities, but they didn't accept a deferral, so I turned them down. And these universities were focusing on social and environmental transition, and that's something else that I want to do. And if I don't get in next year, I don't know what I'm going to do. Actually, well, I'll probably get a bachelor degree in business that doesn't have a focus in impact or sustainability, but I'm not going to find meaning to what I'm doing. Once I left my school in Montreal, I said, after this, my life starts. And whatever I do, I want to make sure that I actually enjoy what I'm doing. And, not necessarily love all parts of it, because you won't love all parts of everything that you're doing. But at least I feel that I love it. I think it's also a lot of doubt, wondering if I'm going to make the right decision, wondering if dance is actually something I really want to go into. I've never danced this intensively before, so we'll see.
Who are the most influential people in your life as of right now?
As of right now? Oh, that's a good question. My mom, definitely. My mom's very particular, though, because she's very influential, and I look up to her in a lot of ways, but I also see a lot of her flaws. There are things that I pick out from her and that I can learn from her, and then there's some things that I see and I'm like, okay, this is something she's struggling with. This is a flaw she has, so be aware not to just blindly follow someone. She's done a lot of things in her life. We call it like her different phases. I think I kind of want to live like that. Something I realized was that life isn't a straight line. Actually, life is however you want to make it, but I don't want my life to be a straight line. It doesn't have to be. It could go full circle. It could go here and then go there and then go there. And sometimes the paths might be a little harder wherever I decide to go, but those are things that I'm willing to take. So my mom is definitely someone who's very influential. She's a little bit of an overachiever. She used to push herself way too much, and then she is now working on herself. She's done a lot of self-work for the past 10 years. It's really brave to be able to confront that. I push myself a little too far sometimes, but she's also taught me how to be very aware of myself, my body, how much I can take, and to listen to my intuition rather than my ego or whatever is pushing me, and to realize what's pushing me forward. My dad as well, he runs an impact investing company. And that's also what inspired me to go into a climate action program in the first place. Last summer, I did some work in impact analysis, and it was something that really inspired me. He's also created a community, and I've been around this community a lot. I don't know, everyone just seems to love each other, and everyone seems to want the same thing and has the same intention. And to see my dad create something like that, and to have it make meaningful work in the business world is something else that really inspires me. Other than that, it's kind of hard to find so many influential people, because what I want to do isn't something that many people have done or many people do. Very specifically, choreographing around climate action or social issues, it's a lot more rare. There are dancers that I look up to, though, that use storytelling to communicate all sorts of messages. Les Twins, they're very big dancers. I think everybody in the dance world knows them. The way that they dance, it's so raw and it's so real and it's so true, because most of it's freestyle. It really inspires me to see dancers who aren't necessarily following what looks good and more what feels good. You can argue that the twins, when they dance, okay, this is a dancer, but bear with me, they don't use a lot of pictures. It's not necessarily as visually pleasing, but the energy that they bring, the way that they feel it, it's like your whole audience can feel it, even through a screen. That's what really inspires me. Dancers who really dance and who aren't just moving their bodies, because there's a big difference.
Looking back at the past year, what are you most proud of?
Wow. So in my program, the way that they evaluated things is they didn't want to do it conventionally. So there's a wheel. Try to imagine this. This was our grading system. There were different competencies. There were 15. Think of a target. You could reach 4 levels in the competency, and the last one was breakthrough. For breakthrough, there was no description of what you had to do to be able to reach it. It was just if you do something that impresses the teachers, they give you breakthrough. No one had gotten it for more than a year and a half. No one just knew how to get it, even though there were people that had done some pretty incredible things. But I was actually the first student in my cohort to receive a breakthrough in communication for a freestyle that I did that was communicating the pain of seeing our Earth deteriorate. It was part of an assignment where it was kind of open-ended. Honestly, I don't think it was my best work. I definitely could have done better. But when I freestyle, I kind of just get into myself. I just dance. And then I explained it in a video afterwards. And then I handed it in, and they were very wowed, because I think it's the first time that I took what I wanted to do and I made it tangible. I think it made me feel really good and really proud to know that there were people that felt a certain way about it. And after I explained it, they were like, yeah, we see it in your dance. We feel it like you feel it. And that's exactly what I want to do. So to know that I'm accomplishing what I want to do in life in that way, even at a smaller scale, it made me feel really good. And being the first in my cohort to do it as well. If this program goes on, it's kind of like a legacy that I get to bring with me. Other than that, mostly personal achievements, I think, to make the realizations that I have, to have gone through a moment where In third term, I had really low self-esteem because I kept thinking I had to be humbled and I couldn't let anything feed my pride. Being able to regain self-esteem, but in a healthy way, in a way that wouldn't just like feed my ego. That's a very like personal thing that I'm proud of. I definitely had support, but I'm proud to have been able to figure out how to do that. It really like changed my life and my mindset, I think.
What would you do differently within that past year if you could?
Dance more. It's hard when you're living in a community, but I really wish I danced a lot more than I did and had more of a consistent schedule and joined online classes and whatnot. But I don't like saying I would rather do things differently because things are just the way that they happen. This is corny, you've definitely heard this before. I think if I learn that I'm going with the flow where life is taking me, and if I don't like it, then I'll change it myself, then I don't really regret anything. I don't really wish I did anything any other way. I think maybe stress a little less, dance more, stress less. Easier said than done, but yeah.
What are you most excited about in your future?
I think feeling inspired, meeting people, learning new things, staying curious and open. I love that feeling when I'm just kind of overwhelmed with ideas, like overwhelmed with inspiration. That's something I really love. Also, seeing my work come to life. I hope I get so many chances to do that.
What's the one thing that worries you the most about the future?
Money. I think because it's something that I can't control. I think with my like physical health, even with my mental health, which are the other two big challenges, I feel like those are things that are more in my control. Whereas money, it's not. It just isn't. So things that are not in my control scare me.
Looking over the past year again, you feel like you've changed as a person?
Yeah. I think it's more of a 2-year thing because I was at Pearson for 2 years. I think I've actually been struggling being back in Montreal where I'm back in like an old environment to be able to stick to the person that I want to be and the person that I became. I think focusing on yourself can be a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I learned to like not focus on myself so much to focus on others, and I think that taught me how to care about others. Like genuinely to be able to put my energy into other people and genuinely like love and care about other people. I think that's something that I learned, and that's something that really changed me. Learning how to find fulfillment and contribution. I wrote about it a lot. The different things that I like I didn't think I would be an activist, that I would like activism, that I would like this world. I really like it. I mean, I liked it before, but I was like, okay, like it's another thing that I like. After being at Pearson, it's something that I realized I'm passionate about. And to be an activist, you have to be a very specific type of person. You have to be willing to sacrifice a lot for what you're fighting for. There are a lot of sacrifices that you have to make, but these are all sacrifices that I'm happy to make, sacrifices that I'm willing to make. Realizing that I'm doing things for a bigger purpose than just myself. If I was only to do something that would self-benefit, I'd be miserable and I would not make an impact in my life. That realization was something that like really changed the way that I thought, that the way that I looked at people, the way that I interacted with people. I used to like put myself, I think, on a little bit of a pedestal. And okay, I don't know how the audience is gonna take this, whatever, whoever's listening to this. But I think what really came into play a lot was that I am very much aware that I'm physically attractive. And I think I used to pride myself on it a lot. And so whenever I'd feel like shit, I'd be like, well, at least I'm pretty. If I'm not good at this, at least I'm pretty, kind of thing. Which is so bad. It was so bad to think that way. And the days when I wasn't feeling pretty, when it was winter, when my skin cracked, when I got a pimple, whatever, it would really eat at me. And I'd feel like shit about myself. And I'd be like, wow, I'm not even pretty. And there's always going to be someone who's prettier, who's better. It was like one of my strengths. So when I see one of my strengths and the things that I'm proud of diminish, that really ate at me. That's what also made me a lot focus on myself. And I didn't really notice it. I kind of did this all subconsciously until I realized what I was doing. And when I took my focus away from that, like it changed so much. Being pretty isn't just a look. It's a behavior. It's the way you think. It's like the way you walk. It's so much. And I realized that through that second term that I was telling you about, I just like have to stop fucking caring so much about myself and the way that I look towards other people. I don't have to prove that I'm pretty to someone. I can just like live my own life and be okay living in a community and not necessarily being the center of attention. Because I think that's something that I was always trying to be. And it was just like, I'm putting in all this effort and it's just causing me struggle, because if I'm not the center of attention, then I'm fighting for it. But like, what is this actually gonna bring me? That was a big part of the change, was just like stop caring about how I was viewed.
What would you consider your best qualities in yourself?
I think ambition. Like I like it in other people, I think that's because I see it in myself as well. Ambition, but also with open-mindedness. I don't really like talking about myself so much, but ambition and open-mindedness, because I feel like I have something to work towards. I feel like I have purpose. I feel like people who don't have ambition, it's like, what are you doing with your life? Sometimes it's okay to like not do anything and to like try to figure it out, but people who are kind of just like mindlessly following, it turns me off. Like, I'm just like, no, I can't. I need to have ambition to feel inspiration and to be able to like get along with people. I think ambition and staying true to what I feel like resonates with me. Integrity is one of them. I can sense when something feels fake. Like, I have a really good sense of that, and I really hate it. I want anything that I do, I want to make sure that it's meaningful, that it makes an impact. So integrity is a really big one. And I think something that I've recently acquired was kindness here and there, but it's something that I want to develop more and that I'm already proud of from what I started from. So, yeah.
So you just answered the next question without me even having to ask it.
What was it?
What personal qualities or skills do you want to develop?
Oh, well, there you go. Kindness, humility. I mean, I developed them at Pearson, but I want to be able to develop them in a context where it's not easy to develop. In Montreal, how do I keep developing that, knowing that it's something that's good and that brings me fulfillment?
How do you think society views the path that you've chosen to go down with the CLI next year, art school? How do you feel? Do you, think
Wow.
do you feel as if it fits in the social norms?
No. It's what exactly doesn't fit in the social norms. It's like you ask someone, like, what's the most out of the way thing you could do? And that's what I'm doing. No, because society doesn't necessarily recognize the arts as something that's serious and important. That's for one, is that I'm going into the arts that's already unconventional. And I think the way that my parents view it as well, they obviously want to support me in everything that I do, but they would not have chosen that. I think it's hard for them to kind of grasp the fact that this is what I've chosen to do. They're trying to be supportive. They're already like financing it, which I really appreciate. But it's hard for them to see the light at the end of the tunnel because it's not something that has been shown or proven to make a lot of money, which is sadly how the world works. It's everything's about money.
Does it bother you the way you feel either supported or what I assume judged by society?
Not really, to be honest. I think what bothers me the most is when it's from relatives and like close family and friends. When I hear my grandparents telling me every 2 weeks in a text message that I have to go make money first before I do anything else and that I can live when I retire, like when it's people that's close to me, I think that's what bothers me the most. But society telling me it's not a thing, I mean, I'm used to it. Everything that I've done has been society telling me not to do it. And so it's like, well, it's not their business. This is my life. This is what I want to do. If someone else went through a route like this, that's what I would tell them. And honestly, I feel like I'm getting a lot more support than I do judgment from society and just from the people that I talk to. Maybe like society as a whole, I'm getting more judgment, but when I talk to a lot of people about what I'm doing and what I want to do, they go, wow, that's insane. They already feel inspired by what I want to do with my life. People are just like, wow, that's really brave of you, because everybody knows that society as a whole isn't nice. It's not like they're going through the same thing, but when they're able to empathize with what I'm doing and like the challenges that I would face, they realize the courage in it. I don't know, I've been getting a lot of support actually from people that I talk to that are like, that's so cool. So, yeah.
You mentioned a little bit about what you would tell somebody if they were going down a similar path. Do you want to expand on it or just touch on what you had mentioned?
Well, I don't know, because I feel like I'm starting my path. If I was ending it, maybe, I'd say we don't listen to our intuition enough as human beings. We're always taught to use our rational thinking. It does help a lot, but that's not it. Yourself is mind, body, spirit. It's not just mind. So you have to be able to listen to your intuition, listen to your body, listen to your rational self to be able to make conscious decisions.
That last question is the best advice you've received so far.
The best advice that I've received is from my mom, who has told me there's a 70-30 rule where you can control only 30% of the things that happen in your life, and the 70% is up to a bunch of other circumstances that you can't control. So most of your life is not something you can control. Whether, I don't know, you get into a car crash or this opportunity doesn't come up because someone else has come and taken it and you wouldn't even know about it. All of these things, it's not things that I can control. So whenever I do something, all I can do is put my 100% in the 30%, and that's when I know that I've done my best in something. I could feel good about it, but I shouldn't be too hard on myself or just blame myself if I don't receive the outcome that I hoped. For example, if I'm getting graded on something, if my teacher's in a bad mood and she's grading me, that could change my whole grade. realizing that these outcomes are not necessarily a reflection of my work and that the best that I can do is put 100% in the 30. Okay, I'm gonna walk up these stairs. Hey Alicia, you're 2 years from now. I'm kind of